Hi, welcome to this introduction to Pet Universal Hospitalization Software. This is the main page, the first thing that you will see after your login. On the top left, you can add new patients. Here, you'll find an option to search the system for a previous record, or you can create a new one. This is our hospitalization chart. So on the top, you'll find all the information regarding the patient, and on the right, the owner. The heart should be used for critical status. So if the patient is well, it could be a green one. If it's in a critical status, it should be defined as red. On the left, you will see the warning sign on the top and the clinical history area. Here, we already have the reason why the animal got hospitalized. We can add a diagnosis. Here, you can say why the patient is hospitalized. Let's say he has an infection. It will be the biggest text here in the chart, so it's the main information when you go in. After that, we have the history, and here we can create any kind of messages to share with our team regarding this specific patient. Here you can create a message to share any kind of information with your colleagues. For instance, it is getting well. So you can share all the clinical information, all the messages that you need to talk with your team using this chat here. This is specific for this patient, for this hospitalization chart. On the right, in the main area, now we'll learn how to add new tasks, to edit them, and to terminate it. So I can add a new drug. It's quite easy and fast. You can define how you're going to do it, and the quantity that we are going to use, you need to calculate it. You can use our calculating system, and here we just need to define the concentration of the drug, the dosage that you want to do, and the system will compute the amount of drug for you. Again, the scheduling, the start, it's a mandatory field, but the end is optional, and also is the frequency that we want to use for this drug. And there it is. To manage the task, it's quite simple. Every action, it's going to be red if it's in the past and you missed it, and with a double click, you change it to green to say that you already did it. If you want to do a medication outside of the scheduling time, you can, and the system will move automatically all the other actions for these tasks in order to keep the frequency of this drug. A yellow action means it's the current hour and now it should be doing that, and the gray ones are the actions for the future. If you want, instead of a double click, you can click only once, and you can change some configurations. You can define other name to be associated with this action, and you can leave a note on this specific action. You can remove an action if you want. You can do virtually anything. So anything that you can do on a paper, here you will be able to do so. You can revert, delete, create, or change any action for a specific task. If we click on the name of the task, you will get a lot of information regarding all the characteristics of this task and also all the actions, who did it and when it was done. In order to change anything, we can edit to update information. We can change the amount, we can change the frequency, and every time that we do a change to a task, on the bottom we will have a timeline. With a timeline, we will be easily see who did the change, when it was done, and what specifically have changed each time. So the communication it's be so much more efficient with your team. The same that we did with this drug, we can do for exams, for instance. We can add a new exam here. You can do the same for the fluids. The system will calculate the rate for you. You can say multiples of the rate. You can add supplementation. And important information here is the frequency. So usually what we suggest is for you to define the start time, but regarding frequency, we suggest to use always visible. This will create a task, and the task will be available for you to insert registrations there, but it will not have the actions predefined. So what we're going to do is every time that we change the fluid bottle, we manually do the registration. And in this way, we can have the registration in the system every time that we change the bottle. So in the end, we'll know the amount of ones that we used instead of predefining the frequency where you're going to do that. The same thing happens with the monitorizations. The system will have some tasks predefined for you, like physis, the physical exam, and so on. In these tasks, again, you should do a double click. You should add a registration every time that you find something like this. But an important thing is if you click only once in these monitorizations, you have these initials. And here we can define specific information regarding, for instance, with liquid. The same will be available for other things like the vomit. Here you can also say specific information like biliary or with blood and so on. This will be also green, of course, because you are defining that the task has been done, but with this extra information available on screen. The physical exam you can change if you want. You can define the start time, you can define a new frequency, and this will be available after this point in the future. Every time that you do a physical exam, we already predefined some point of analysis here that we can introduce. Our suggestion is for you to fill only the ones that have irregular values, so it's so much faster to do, and it's faster to read in the future. An important note is when you are going to do a task, all the time you will have on the left side of the screen how it was the last time that it was done. And so it's an amazing opportunity here when you are filling a physical exam to compare the status of the patient with the last time that we did it. Regarding the tasks, we have this other section. Here you can create, like in the other ones, you can create any task that you want, and simply by pushing this hat sign here, you can create any kind of task that you want. We already predefined some here, like food, walking, or changing the catheter. One important here is this contact owner. Here it's so much easy for us every time that we talk with the owner to click here and to register down everything that we talk with that person. In the report, we have all the clinical information regarding this patient, all the drugs, the doses, and the scheduling for all of those. Regarding also the fluids, the exams that we did, and the physical exam, we will have those here side by side. And so it's so much easy to compare all of those. We will also have the monitorizations and the general tasks that you'll see ahead. All the notes and the clinical evolution, all the messages that we did there, we will also be part of this report. And so it can be printed or printed as PDF in order to be able to share this information, for instance, with another person. And so we are creating a history of all the times that we talked and all the things that I talked about. In the consumptions area, you have an area to also choose some. Then we have the consumptions area. Here you can take notes, and it's a way to talk with the person that is going to be creating the bill of this patient. And also you can add new consumption information here in order to be billed in the end to the customer. So all the things that are not easily figured on the tasks on the top that needed to be billed to the customer, we can add those here. We also have a financial report. We have the total report and the daily report. In the daily report, we have the possibility to define the start and the end period of the report that we need. And so we can change that here to the last time that we updated the bill and only see all the other things that we've done since that. Other than the chart itself, we have the overview window. In this window, we will have an overview over all the patients that we have hospitalized and all the tasks that we need to do with them. This window is also an interactive one, so we can mark tasks as done, we can open and to see the details, and we can do all these interactions that we were seeing in the patient chart. So this overview window is also customizable, and on the top we can choose a different time window or we can move around the time. Other than the overview window, we also have the television overview. On the left side, in all the overview windows, we have the scheduled discharges. Here we have the information on the patients leaving and when they are going to do so. Also to notice, on the chart itself, the patients that are scheduled will be marked as so, and also the critical status hearts are displayed in order to help you define priorities on patient treatment. This is a simple overview of the system, and there's so much more that we can show you and tell you. So please don't be afraid to ask us, talk with us on WhatsApp, and give us all the questions that you have.